Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on SP Vids. In this video, I want to talk about pairing devices together. Now, a really weird thing happened about this because I woke up this morning and thought that I wanted to do this video. I thought I'll talk about pairing because it's something that I think needs clearing up. And I actually had a comment asking if I could do a video about pairing devices together. So very, very odd. So that's what this video is going to be all about. I'm going to talk about how you pair these devices together and try and clear up a bit of confusion around it, because I think it's not as complicated as you might think. It's pretty straightforward. So the reason I wanted to do this video is because on Instagram and social platforms and YouTube, a lot of the time I see videos which say I've paired this device with this, I've paired my 303 with my SX. And I think if you're new to the game, you might be wondering, well, what the hell does that actually mean? You know, how do I pair these two together? Is there some sort of configuration that you need to do? The simple answer is no, actually. You don't have to do any configuration between these two things. You can't make these boxes talk to one another. You can't share the memory between them, anything like that. The only way you can link them is through one of these generic phono cables. So you take the line out of one of the devices and do it into another one of the devices, because they both have lines in and lines out, which is super cool because obviously you need to be able to sample into them. So essentially you're sampling from the device rather than from an external sound source. So yeah, that is basically how you pair a device together, especially in the SP range. The 303 and the 404SX, if you wanted to pair these devices, you would literally run a cable from the line out of this and send it into the back of the SX. Make sure the external source button is lit and you'll be able to hear the signal from the 303. So I do want to mention that these do have MIDI ins, these devices, but when people are talking about how they've paired them together, 99% of the time it's nothing to do with that MIDI. So I think we can put that one to one side. I've never used the MIDI with these devices. I think the A has more software in there to be able to sync with other Roland-based devices, other samplers. But yeah, on the whole, when people are saying I've paired these devices together, they're not talking about using MIDI. They're talking about just using the audio signal from one and running it into another device. So hopefully that clears that up. And what I want to just talk about briefly now is different ways that you can pair these devices together to make workflows. So I have done a video on this before where I kind of showed you guys how you could make a beat using two different devices, and I'll just go into a bit more detail and describe how, various workflows that you could do. So if we had these two, for example, just because for the sake of argument, because they're both here, one thing that you could do is have the 303 have all your drum sounds in it, because this can get like a really nice gritty sound out of it. And you run the line out from this one into the back of the SX. You have the external source on, so you can hear those drum loops coming in. You could use the pattern select on this device to make a loop, or you could resample it. Or you could just import it and then loop it and put effects on if you wanted to. So you have that drum loop running on here. You feed it into the SX, and on the SX you have your chops, and you play your chops on here while that drum loop is playing from the SP303, sorry, not the SX. So yeah, that's a super simple workflow that is one of the main ways that people pair, especially the 202 as well, which I've got here. With the 202 you can get such grit out of it that a lot of people process their drum sounds through this. It's a bit too much grit for your samples because it can sort of ruin the mix a little bit. People will use this for the drums, get some really nice lo-fi tones on them, and then run the signal out of the back of it into the 404SX, just because the 404SX is a lot faster to use. So one very common combination that I see is the SX paired with an MPC, particularly the 2000XL. I don't know why, that's the thing, they just see that a lot on YouTube and that kind of thing. So the way that people are pairing these with the MPC is very straightforward. They're running the signal out of the back of the MPC. That's coming into the back of the SP via the line in, and then you can use this to apply effects to it. So you might want to use the compression or the vinyl sim, which is kind of legendary on this device as well, to get that wobble in your beats, and just to kind of dirty it up a bit and make it sound a bit more lo-fi. So when you're using the MPC, obviously the sequencer in that is way, way more powerful than you get inside the SX. So you get the power of the MPC and then you get the effects of the SX, and that's kind of how people go about doing that. The other way that you could use this with the 2000XL is to do all your sampling through this device and then record those into your MPC. So you might chop all your samples up on here, apply the effects to them that you want, and resample them all so you've got it all ready. and then you record that into your MPC, again, just via a cable, an audio cable. You don't need anything, you don't need any sort of fancy configuration. You record those into the back of your MPC, and then you've got a workflow that's using both those devices. So yeah, don't want to rabbit on too much about this topic, guys, but if you see people saying I've paired these devices together, it usually is genuinely just via one of these cables. They're just running the signal from one into the other and using that as a way of making beats. It's definitely something I'm interested in doing more, and I will try and do more videos about it in the future, about different workflows, because there's a lot of power you can get from the various devices. You know, there's different things that each of these devices are good for, and if you pair them together, then you can have the best of all the worlds at the same time. I would say 90% of the time you want to be using the SX, or if you have an A, as your main box, just because it's the fastest to use and it's got the most memory to save samples and beats as well. So if you enjoyed this content, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that thumbs up, and also if you're new here, hit that subscribe button as well. I do lo-fi content every week, usually centered around the Roland devices, but I'm going to be branching out and doing way more soon. So yeah, please subscribe if you're interested in that kind of thing. If you've got any questions, as usual, just ask them below, and I always try and answer for you guys, just because this is why this channel's here, is to help you guys out. So I hope these videos are helping, and if I have missed anything, yeah, just feel free to ask below, and I'll get around to answering for you. One final thing, if you need lo-fi drums, I've got some packs on my website, spvids.com. If that's something that you're looking for and you want to support the channel, I'd really appreciate if you could hop over and do that. And one thing finally as well, these dials are going to be hitting the shop very, very soon. I'm just getting some final things together. I need to get envelopes ready, and I need to check shipping prices because I want to do worldwide shipping. So yeah, these, and I've got gold ones as well, and I've got another style of dials as well. They're all going to be available in the shop very soon, so stay tuned for that. So that's it for this one, guys. I hope this helped you understand how people pair devices together and clears up some of the myths that you might be thinking that you need to, do some sort of crazy configuration to get these to work together. You don't. It's really straightforward, and I hope that explained it for you. I will see you again very soon with more content. Keep making beats. Peace!
Nah, not